welcome to both of you. Okay, hopefully someone else comes in the next couple of minutes. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, for now, this is a 2-to-1 webinar for you, so that's fantastic. All right. I think you've both been in some of my webinars before, but just in case, my name is Michael. Okay. I'm a director of studies and a teacher here at Aztecs. I've been working here for, well, several years, 7 years now. Okay, I've been in Spain for 11 years, and I've been working here for 7 years. All right, so quite a long time. Well, today, as you guys know, I'm pretty sure today's webinar is going to be on fluency tips. Okay, so the fact that I speak 2 languages every day of my life during the year. Normally I speak both languages, both Spanish and English. I have a lot of ideas and things for, well, helping you, tips for helping you to speak English in situations where it's maybe more difficult, okay? So we'll go ahead and get right to that, okay? So as usual, I have a few objectives for you for today, all right? Some ideas for being more fluent, okay? I want you to get from this new ways that you can explain things, even if it's difficult to explain something. A lot of times it's very difficult to explain things in another language, especially if we're not used to explaining those things, okay? And then I have, as usual, I always give you either phrasal verbs or idioms or both. I have a few idioms, okay, that I'd like to look at with you. And these are very useful idioms for communication. Okay. All right. Well, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So the first thing I want to go over before we get into everything is what is the difference between fluency and accuracy? Do you guys know what the difference between? I have like a bug flying around here. I don't know what it is. What is the difference between fluency and accuracy? Good. Fluency is speaking and you're not doubting. You're not, even better word for that, you're not hesitating in English, we would say. You're not hesitating. You're not saying, yeah. And accuracy is good, speaking correctly without making mistakes, yeah? So if you're speaking accurately, but sometimes you're speaking accurately, but you're not fluent, okay? So what we want to try to achieve is that you do both. Today, we're going to focus mostly on fluency, okay? We'll do a little bit of accuracy, but when I'm giving you tips on fluency, I'm giving you tips on how to, well, to be fluent, not so much accurate. Of course, it's very important to be accurate, but I want people to lose this feeling of, you know, hesitation, of, you know, I want people just to speak, to learn, okay? And usually it depends on your level. Of course, if you're a C1, maybe you need to be focusing more on accuracy because maybe you have a good level of fluency. But anything below that, we still need to be working on your fluency, okay? Oh, good. We have one more participant coming. That's good. All right. We'll go ahead and get started, okay? Just a few tips of mine, okay? I have a few tips for building confidence, things that can maybe help you, okay? That maybe help you for situations that you might have. So I want to give you a few tips. One of them, it might sound crazy, but I think it's good to talk to yourself, okay? And what do I mean by talk to yourself? Well, I think sometimes if nobody's around, if you want to practice another language, to talk to yourself, you know, and to go even further, imagine situations and kind of talk about that. It can be in your mind, but it's even better if you can say it out loud. One place you could do that, where maybe people are around, is when you're taking a shower. So while you're taking a shower, you're washing your hair or whatever, start thinking, what if I were in a supermarket in London and I wanted to buy some cheese, for example? What would I say? And you start really imagining things that you would say in this situation, okay? This works. I do this a lot with French because I'm studying French, and so to build my fluency, I try to imagine situations where I would have to speak French. A lot of times I'm just imagining what I would say to my teacher, okay? Because I have a French class, a half an hour per week, and a lot of times I'm imagining what I would say to my teacher in this case, okay? So I'll imagine these situations in my head. It could even be, okay, today we're going to be talking about fashion in class. So what things do I need to talk about? It's very important to run these things through your head, okay? We just talked about accuracy, and I said for building confidence and building fluency, confidence is a big part of fluency, okay? Don't worry about accuracy. Don't worry about those mistakes, okay? Just speak. This is a huge problem of mine. And I recognize that for using for using my French, I feel that I'm not very confident, okay? So I tend to stop, to pause a lot, to think way too much. I'm so focused on accuracy that I don't let my messages flow. And so I'm really making a big effort in my own case, okay? Another thing, speak slowly. When I first came to Spain, I thought it was important to speak quickly. I thought that if you spoke quickly, people would think that you were very fluent. So I thought, perfect. If I speak quickly, people will say, wow, look at this guy. He's very fluent. All right, so speaking slowly is really important. I remember when I was when I first came to Spain, I was in Salamanca. And I thought, if I speak really fast, people will think that I'm a really good speaker. No, it's quite the opposite, because it doesn't make sense what you're saying, because you don't have that level of fluency or that pronunciation in the beginning, and you're speaking very fast, okay? Welcome, Angelica. And you're speaking very, very quickly, okay? And it sounds silly, and people would say, why are you speaking so quickly? And so you have to make an effort to speak slowly, maybe not too slowly, but it's not important if you have to speak a little bit slowly to pronounce well, okay? Because if you speak too quickly, you know, you're not going to maybe be as confident in this case, okay? And feel free to pause when you need to, okay? So that's part of speaking slowly. You pause, collect your thoughts, and then you keep speaking, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Part of pausing, and this is something I want to get into next, is using fillers. Does anybody know what a filler is? What is a filler? So thinking of what a filler is. What is a filler? No ideas? So when you're speaking, we use fillers a lot. I wouldn't say it's a connector. No, a connector could be something like, well, some of our connectors are fillers as well. Yeah, I would say maybe to fill a silence, to fill some moment of silence, you might say something, or to collect your thoughts, okay? So for example, you might say, what we say a lot in English is so. So you're saying so, okay? We say this a lot. And this doesn't really connect. Well, you could say it connects in a way, but this is something we use a lot. So is like therefore, okay? So we would say, so, what do you think about this, all right? These are examples of fillers, all right? Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a few examples of the typical fillers, okay? So we have a lot of sounds that we make in English, okay? So you might hear someone say, okay? It's perfectly fine if you're collecting your thoughts. Use fillers, okay? It will make you sound more native, okay? So okay? These are all typical sounds. We also have some words, okay? What do you think are some typical words that we would say to fill a sentence? Of course, in Spanish, you have the typical, you have o sea, people say this a lot. O sea que, you know, this happens a lot. You might hear like a pues, a bueno, okay? You might hear an en fin. You might hear all of these things. What could we say in English? What types of words would we say here? It's very important that when you speak English, you use these words, okay? Well is perfectly fine. Previously, I mentioned so, okay? So and well are perfectly fine, okay? We use so a lot. If you guys start using so, you'll sound more, maybe then not so much, but so yes, okay? And I find that in many languages, I tend to use some type of version of so, okay? So yeah, well, okay, right. Many people say right. So maybe you're continuing. It's a way to continue something else. You say right, all right, or you can say all right. I say all right a lot. Some people say right, okay? And this one is a big one anyway, okay? So well is kind of like pues. It could also be like bueno. Okay is kind of like bueno. Well, yeah, bueno, no sé. Like, well, I don't know, okay? Okay, we use for almost anything, right. I can't think of a good Spanish equivalent of that, okay? It could be another bueno. Empezamos, all right? Right, let's get started, okay? So, all right, let's get started. It could kind of be the same thing, all right? So could be like entonces, maybe, all right? Con lo cual, it can be many things, all right? Anyway, of course, is en fin. Anyway, let's change the subject, okay? All right, we use a lot of different adverbs with ly. What kind of adverbs do you think these could be? Adverbs with ly. But using them as fillers, I would say here with fillers. I wouldn't say mostly. Think of some other ones. Any others that you guys think? I think in Spanish you don't use as many adverbs for fillers. In English we would use quite a few. There's one really common one, which is actually. Okay? Actually is similar to in fact. You say, well, actually I was thinking of something different, okay? Actually, this is what we're going to do, not the other thing that you said, okay? Totally. Totally, people could say a lot, like totally, I agree with you completely, totally, okay? Basically, I've heard this in Spanish a few times, this is básicamente. You might say basically, this, and that. Literally, seriously, clearly, okay? These are good ways to fill as well, okay? And then we have just a few phrases. What I mean by phrases is it's just more than one word, okay? So you might say things like, I mean, okay? I mean is kind of like saying, o sea que, okay? I mean, all right? Es decir, okay? I guess, all right? Supongo, I suppose, all right? These are typical things that we might say, okay? All right. And the typical, when you're bringing it to someone else, you say, you see, you know. I might use these a lot during a webinar. I might say, you see, checking that you know what I'm talking about, okay? See, I just, it's impossible to avoid fillers. I said, you see, I just said, okay. So I'm already saying, you see, and I just said, okay. So we do these a lot, all right? And it's good to try to remember how we use these fillers in English, okay? All right. There, I said it. All right. So these are a very essential part of the language, okay? Just a few speaking techniques for you guys before we get into explanation techniques, okay? I think it's important to build what I call repertoire, all right, of go-to phrases, all right? Things that you keep in your mind that you can always just take out in a fluent conversation, okay? So these are phrases, not so much just single words, but phrases. A lot of these phrases that I've been teaching in the past webinars, you just try to remember those phrases and include them, okay? So if it's a meeting, say, oh, I have a meeting. I need to take out those phrases that I have in my mind for this meeting, okay? If it's a presentation, I know these go-to words for a presentation. I'll use those, okay? It's a small talk. I know these few things to start a conversation, okay? So it's good to kind of build this repertoire, all right? We're going to look at this a bit later, but we're going to look at the most common verbs in English, okay, and how we can use these verbs to explain things and to talk about almost anything, all right? Most of these verbs, as we'll see later, are Germanic in origin, okay? A lot of the main verbs that we use, the natives use, all right, native speakers, are the Germanic origin verbs, okay? The other verbs, which are more Latin-based, are very formal, okay? So again, I want you guys to become more familiar with the common verbs in English and their prepositions. So we're talking about phrasal verbs or verbs with dependent prepositions. This is very important, okay? We're going to look at next techniques for explaining, okay? So looking at some really good techniques for explaining things when you don't know exactly what you want to say, all right? There are many times, you know, imagine you haven't, this is a common thing when we're talking about things that we don't normally talk about. Maybe if you have an injury, you break your leg, and you want to explain how it happened. You might not know how to explain that in English. Things like this are more difficult for me to explain in Spanish as well. Or the fact that you're not going, if you're not a doctor or a nurse or work in a hospital, you might not have that much hospital vocabulary, okay? So you might need to explain things with what you know, all right? These are quite common, all right? And of course, what we're going to look at later are some idioms that you can incorporate, okay? And as I will mention several times today, especially when we get into explaining the techniques for explaining, work with the vocabulary that you know that you have, okay? And make your explanations, build your explanations on that, okay? So the first technique for explaining things, all right, is using general words, all right? I have several photos here below, okay? Several. I have 3 photos here below, okay? And each photo, there's kind of a specific word, and you could say a general word for all of these, okay? So look at the example of maybe, imagine you didn't know the word boots for English, okay? Maybe you would say it's a type of shoe, okay? You don't know the words, you say they're shoes. You don't have to be specific and say they're boots, you say they're shoes, okay? So looking at this first photo on the left, what is this? Imagine that you don't know the word for the thing that this woman is wearing. So this woman is wearing what? What is she wearing? You guys need to participate if you can. Yeah, she's wearing a jacket. But imagine you didn't know the word for jacket or even leather jacket. Maybe you don't know the word for leather. You don't say a jacket. You just say a jacket. But what if you don't know the word for jacket? What would you say? What is a more general word? I need a drink of water. 1 second. What is a more general word for jacket? You could say, yeah, you could say winter. It's a piece of winter clothing, yeah. Or you could say it's a type of coat, for example. All right. Good. In the next photo, what I want to say is un callejón, okay? Does anybody know how to say that in English? You didn't say it, callejón sin salida. Okay, now we do have a word which is an alley, okay? That would be a callejón, but it's perfectly fine to say narrow street. You're explaining yourself. You have the vocabulary, narrow and street, so you say, it's a kind of like narrow street, okay? It's a narrow street. You don't know the exact word, you just say it's a narrow street, okay? How do you say sin salida? Very good. You could say without exit, but we have a special word for this. We call it a dead end street, for example. A dead end. But if you're explaining yourself, that's perfectly fine to say it doesn't, you know, it's without an exit, okay? The next one. Do you know these words? So we've got 3 things here. We say cutlery, but I'm going to correct the spelling there, like this. We say cutlery, okay? So yeah, imagine you don't know the word for cutlery. Imagine you don't know the word for fork, knife, and spoon. What would you say? You say something else? That's very good, Patricia, yeah? You can say tools for eating, yeah. Utensils for eating, you know, these are very general things, okay? Tools for eating. But cutlery, that's fantastic. Yeah, or you could say silverware. That's what we say in English. Cubiertos, we say, sorry, in American English. Excuse me. Yeah, you could say cutlery or silverware. Cutlery is maybe more British and silverware is more American. But for me, cutlery is only for cutting. I would say cutlery is only for cutting, but I think in British English, they use it for both. Okay. All right, good. Another technique that we're going to look at is giving examples of something, all right? So for example, if you don't know the word appliance, all right? I don't know if you guys know what an appliance is. You would give an example such as a refrigerator, an espresso machine, something like that, okay? What is an appliance? You guys know what an appliance is? You heard this before? So in this case, it's the opposite. If you don't know the general word, you give examples, okay? An appliance are these things. It's a refrigerator, an espresso machine, a washing machine, a dryer. So you have small appliances and large appliances, okay? These are electronic things that you have in your house, okay? In Spanish, it's electrodoméstico, but it's more for the big ones, because the small ones, we call it devices, okay? Well, in Spanish, you have another word for that as well, yeah? So you could say small, sorry, no, we would say large and small appliances, yeah, for electrodomésticos, depending on the size, okay? So, for example, for device, I just told you what a device was. What are some examples of a device? Imagine you don't know the word for device, for dispositivo. Imagine you don't know this word. What could you say? What examples could you give? So you're explaining to somebody something, and you want to say the general word device, you might say, you know, like very good, Angelica, you would say, you know, like computers, iPads, iPhones, etc., etc., etc. It could even be you know, where you were being very Apple oriented here, but you could even say it's a Fitbit or something like that, or it's, you know, all of these are types of devices. Very good. Clothes. Clothes or clothing, they're synonymous. You can say clothes or clothing. What specific examples could you say? Imagine you didn't know those. Imagine you didn't know what clothing meant. It's kind of odd, but this is just, well, yeah, but give me an example. Here we're looking at examples. So yeah, you could say, if you didn't know the word for clothes, you could say, for example, yeah, it's something for getting dressed, right? For getting dressed, yeah. Or you could say, some examples are skirts, trousers, shoes, all right? Both are examples, and they're perfectly fine. But here we're looking for specific examples of the general thing, okay? And what about fruit? Imagine you say, I don't know the word for fruit, but I can give you an example. You think, en mi idioma es fruta, pero no sé la palabra en inglés. And you say, well, and you start saying some different things. You say, manzana, da, da, da. Yeah, good. You would say, apple, orange, lemon, watermelon, banana. Good. Okay, another little trick we can use are using relative clauses, okay? So it's a person who, it's a thing that, or it's a place where, okay? So if you don't know how to explain it, you use these relative clauses. This is something you learned in probably one of your first years of English classes, okay? Who, that, or which, okay, or where. So for example, if you don't know what the word for baker, okay, baker, it's a person who makes bread, all right? A baker makes bread. But we're going to look at a more complicated word. I hope you guys know it. An attorney. I want you guys to practice now. So, for example, an attorney. What is this person? Any examples? Could you guys give me an example? An attorney. Do you know what this word is? Okay, it's an abogado. In American English, it's abogado. It's an attorney. You can also say lawyer, but I don't know exactly the difference, yeah? So a lot of people don't know this word, and for that reason specifically, I put this word. So how could you explain this using a relative clause? An attorney is a person who, I can't think of the word, but it's a person who, good, yeah. Someone who handles laws. Very good, yeah. Someone who handles laws, that's perfectly fine, yeah. Someone who handles laws, someone who defends, you know, defends people in the court, you could say, if you know both of those words, etc., etc. Now, what if you didn't, imagine you didn't know the word for a watch. I don't wear a watch right now, but imagine you didn't know the word for a watch. What could you say? What could you say if you didn't know that word? You could say simply, it's something you wear on your wrist to tell the time. All right, in English we say to tell the time, or you could say to know the time, you know, whatever you want to say, but it's something that you wear on your wrist, all right? Or your hand. If you don't know the word for wrist, you say it's on your hand, okay? And it tells you the time. Very good. What about the dry cleaners? Does anybody know what this is? How would you explain it in English? Dry cleaners, by the way, is a place, okay? The person is a dry cleaner, but you take something to the dry cleaners. So you'd say it's a place where, it's a place where actually, you don't dry your clothes there. That would be a laundromat is a place where you, no. A laundromat is a place where you clean your clothes, you can dry them, okay? But this is something different. And I'm sure you guys use them a lot, especially if you wear like any type of business clothing, okay? For example, for men, if we wear suits, the women who wear very nice business, like these jackets that women wear with dresses, you would have to take those to a dry cleaner. People will take maybe their tie, people will take their winter coats to the dry cleaner, okay? They might take their, maybe some type of special thing in their house that can't be cleaned in another place, okay? Things that you can't clean in the wash machine, you take to a dry cleaner. You guys know what I'm talking about now? I'm talking about tintorería. Yeah, very good. It's a place you can clean special clothes that you can't clean at home, yeah. Because they have to be cleaned dry. You can't put them all wet inside a wash machine and have them tumbling around, okay? That has to be cleaned very in detail, okay? All right, the next trick, okay? We've got kind of the function of something, whatever we're using, the function, what it does, okay? So you can say it's used for this, okay? Or it's used for doing this, okay? So imagine you don't know the word for spoon. You use it to eat soup, okay? It's used for eating soup, okay? But this needs to be for something that has a clear function. So looking at the pictures below, what could we say? Imagine you don't know the word for sartén in English. How would you say that? How would you explain that? How would you explain sartén, frying pan? So you would say it's used, yes, it's a tool used for cooking, yeah. The tool used for cooking. What about the next one? This is what we call a fire extinguisher, okay, but I think a lot of people probably don't know the word for this in English. And many people don't know the word for this in Spanish when they come here to study or whatever. How could you explain it? Yeah, directly, it's used to extinguish a fire. Directly, you would say it's used to extinguish a fire. Very good. It's used to stop the fire. I'm going to give you a phrasal verb here. I would say it's used to put out the fire. We use that a lot, to put out a fire. And the last one, what is that? How would you explain that? The last thing that you see there, how do you explain that? It's used to write, yeah, it's used to write on a computer, it's used to enter information on a computer. Good, very good. All right, we'll keep continuing, okay? So here we're looking at things that you might not know the actual word for, okay? So you would, in this case, say it's a kind of. This is kind of like we were looking earlier at the general words, okay? You might say it's a kind of, it's a sort of, it's a type of, okay? So imagine the word blueberry. Imagine you can't think of blueberry. You say it's a type of berry, for example. It's a kind of fruit, okay? You would say it's a kind of fruit. What about these things here? These are almonds, but you don't know the word for almond. What would you say? Yeah, I would say it's a kind of nut. No. Dry fruit, no. Dry fruit would be something like raisins, prunes, dried apricots. Okay, these are dried fruit, all right? This is something we call nuts, right? The word nut is fruto seco. Ah, sorry. Not letting me delete that last comment that I made. Well, anyways, a nut is a fruto seco, okay? So many people say, well, how do you say it? Because for me, nueces are not nuts. Well, they are nuts, obviously. But how do you say nuez in English, for example? Anybody know how to say nuez? So if frutos secos are nuts, how do you say nuez? You guys know this one? No? We call it a walnut, okay? A walnut is una nuez, okay? All right. This next one, imagine you didn't know the word for this. This is something I would call I don't know what specific type it is, but I would call it a lizard, okay? Lagartija. But what if you don't know the word lizard? What could you say? It's a kind of reptile. Very good. Yeah, it's a kind of small reptile, you could say. It's a kind of reptile, yeah, but it's spelled R-E-P-T-I-L-E. Good. It's a kind of reptile. Good. Okay. A couple more. We can use synonyms, all right? If we don't know the word huge, which means very big, we can say very big, okay? And this would be used especially with nouns and adjectives, okay? So imagine we have the word transparent. What if you don't know the word transparent? I think everybody knows because it's the same in Spanish. Transparent is transparente, but imagine you didn't know. What could you say for a synonym? You can see through it. It's something you can see through, but do you know the direct translation? Sorry, translation. Do you know the direct synonym you could say? So if you didn't know either word, you could say it's something you can see through. Yeah, perfectly said. Yeah, but what about a synonym? In this case, the synonym, you could say clear, something that's clear, all right? What about busy? What could you say for the synonym of busy? I'm really testing you guys today. There are only 4 of you. You could say stressed with an ED, yeah? But with an ED, stressed, overwhelmed, or occupied. Very good. I would say, yeah, occupied. Good. Okay, starving. Hungry, yeah. But again, you could even say, if you said, well, I don't know, you know, but I want to say very hungry. Yeah, this would be very hungry, would be starving. Yeah, or you can say hungry in general. Sleepy. I'm very sleepy, like, oh, today I feel a bit sleepy. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't sleep well. No, not sad. Sleepy is exhausted, tired, yeah. So I'm very tired, I'm exhausted. Very good. Ambitious. Drowsy, very good. Yeah, drowsy. Drowsy, normally we say when someone takes medicine and it makes you feel drowsy. So if you take allergy medicine, it can make you feel very drowsy. All right. Ambitious. Someone is ambitious. Of course, in Spanish, this is the same. You could say an ambitious person is maybe you could say they're very determined, all right? Okay, and one more. Meticulous. How would we say meticulous? we can approximate to this in many ways. Someone who's very meticulous. Any ideas? You guys are being shy. Today's fluency. You have to be very confident. Yeah. Maybe specific to. Yeah, maybe you could say they focus on specific details. They're very precise. Focus on specific details if they're meticulous. They're very precise, very accurate. I'll take all of those. Very good. Yeah, accurate. All right, and the last one would be antonyms. Okay, so imagine you don't know the word greedy. Okay, the word greedy, you could say not generous. Okay. You say, I know the word generous, but I can't think of the opposite. The opposite, I'll just say not generous, okay? This is a good trick, all right? So, for example, frustrated. What would be the opposite? We could say something with not. So someone's frustrated, they are not. No, because not stressed would mean it's the same. But what is the opposite? I'm looking here for the opposite because we're talking about antonyms. Yeah, they're not calm. Very good. Yeah, imagine you didn't know. Their mind is not open. But open-minded is a bit different, I would say. Well, maybe if you're open-minded, you're less frustrated. It could be. All right, ignorant. You say for ignorant. Any ideas? You say not intelligent. Very good. Dangerous. Someone who is dangerous. No, but dangerous. The opposite of dangerous is safe. So we would say not safe. Okay. Yeah. So if I said scared, well, sorry. No. That's something different. Yeah. You say not afraid. Yeah. If someone's not afraid. Yeah. That's a bit different though. Okay. Next two, talkative and hungry. If someone is talkative, they are not. They're not shy. Very good. And if they're hungry, they are not. What is the opposite of hungry? I'm testing you guys a lot today, even before the Kahoot. The Kahoot is usually, yeah, and not full. All right, good. We're not going to spend any more time on this because I want to do a little activity with a video. We never put videos on in these, and I have a fantastic video to show you. It's only a minute long, okay? But before we see the video, I want you to look at these common verbs, okay? So we have these very, very common verbs. The verb to be obviously is the most common, okay? You have, do, go, say. Almost all of these are Germanic verbs, okay? Use, no. Okay, use is one of the few that's not a Germanic verb. That's a Latin-rooted verb. But almost all the rest of them, I'm pretty sure, are Germanic. Okay, so this is an idea of the most common that we have. All right, these are 30 of the most common. Okay, so what I want you to do is with these verbs, I want you to be able to explain what is going on in this video that I'm going to show you in just a moment. For some reason, it doesn't let me. I embedded the video, but it doesn't let me show it. So what we're going to do is go out of the presentation for a second, and we're going to go to the video here. Can you see the video? Can you see the screen with the video? Sorry. Maybe I need to change the screen. Yeah? Okay. Well, hopefully you can hear the sound as well. If you're ready, I just want you to watch this. Actually, sorry, I want you to watch it. Well, I'll put the sound on because it's a funny video, okay? And what I want you to do after the video is explain what happened using the verbs that I showed you, okay? So, if you're ready, I'll play the video.
Bye.
Can you hear us? Oh no. Jen, call him. Oh my gosh. Let's take a couple pictures of that. Oh. Oh. Oh boy.
What's up?
Johnny, I can see you.
We can all see you.
Okay, I hope you guys could see that fine. We're going to go back to the presentation that I was showing. Okay. And I want you to explain what happened in that video. Could you guys explain? Can I get anybody to explain what happened in that video using some of these, using the verbs that you see to your left? That's your key. How would you explain that? Or if you want to turn on your microphone, you tell me through your microphone. That's perfectly fine. You can speak it. This is a fluency webinar, so it's perfectly fine if you want to speak. Can you explain what happened in that video using the verbs to the left? Anybody? You can use, yeah. All right, he thinks, good. Okay, he thinks, he turns off the camera, good. And you're using prepositions here, all right? So remember, you have to use these verbs with prepositions. All right, he thinks, he turns off the camera, yeah? So that's a good way to start, okay? In the beginning of the video, what are they doing? In the beginning, they're saying, okay, all right, bye. They're saying goodbye, so you say, think, okay? Later, after they say bye, what does he do? What does the man do? The man in the top left. We can use a phrasal verb here. We say he gets up, okay? All right, so he gets up, all right? And then he does all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, he goes to another place in the room. So we're using say goodbye. He goes to another place in the room. He gets up, okay? Yeah. There's some things that we would use that would be more related to Latin, of course. We could say he stretches. He's stretching, okay? We have another Germanic word, he's itching or scratching. Okay, he's scratching his, and well, that's about all. And then what do they do? After that, they tell him, good, that they're watching him. They call him, which is another one. They call him and they tell him that they were watching him. Very good, very good. And what does he do after that? So they're all laughing. Laughing again is another Germanic, more Germanic. And he runs away. Run is another. Good. Anything else you would say in there? He runs to another room. Good. Yes. Good. So we've used a lot of these, okay? I just want to show you that most things in English we say with our Germanic verbs and a phrase and a preposition, okay? We make phrasal verbs, okay? All right, now, this last part, before I get into the idioms, I want you guys to explain what is happening in these pictures, using as many common verbs as you can, or any of the strategies for explaining things that we talked about earlier. Does anybody want to volunteer and tell me what is happening in this picture? Ah, good, yeah. So if you don't know the word for tire, you say the children are playing with the black part of a vehicle, okay? Use that round black part of the vehicle, okay? Good. All right, they're playing. It looks like she is, we could say, what is the word for this? She's pulling him, okay? She's pulling, maybe it's her brother. We could invent that, okay? They're rolling a tire, we could say, okay? They're running, they're doing a lot of different things, okay? They're playing in an alley. Very good, using that vocabulary, yes. They're playing in an alley, Good, good use of vocabulary, okay? So these are the actions that are happening, okay? So we see an alley. If we didn't know alley, we could say a narrow street. We could say a small street, for example, okay? Good. And we can keep adding more and more vocabulary, explaining and explaining. What about in this one? What is happening here? What verbs can we use? What is going on? What is going on here? So we have a few people that you can see. Technically 3 people you can see well here. What are they doing? Yeah, there are girls walking the street while a man is painting a kind of face on the wall. Very good, okay. Good use of kind of, okay. A girl in the street is looking how a wall painter is looking at how a wall painter is working, okay. When we explain pictures in English, we use the present continuous always, okay. So you say she's looking at a wall painter and how he is working, okay. The girl is looking at, okay? Key there, looking at. All right, good. Okay, and what is he doing? Where is he? What is this thing? How would you say this thing in English? The thing that the man is standing on? What do we call that in English? Very good, a ladder. Yeah, a lot of people don't know this word. A ladder is this type of thing. We would never say stairs here, okay? But if you didn't know the word, you could say it's a type of stairs, okay? Or it's a type of steps because you have to go up steps. But very good, yes, it's a ladder. Okay, what about this one? How would you explain this? What is happening here? What is going on in this picture? Remember, using the present continuous, when we're talking about a picture, what is going on here? What is going on here? Yeah. Yeah, musicians are playing a live concert with some kind of plants, yeah? They're in an opera house. Where the public, we would say in English, the audience. But good, you don't know the word for it, so you would say public. You could say, that's fine. The audience is substituted by plants. Yeah. You guys know where this is? Do any of you live in Barcelona? Because this is in Barcelona. This is it's the Liceo. Yeah, I didn't know exactly which, yeah, but it's in Barcelona. Good. All right. Oops, one more. What is happening in this? And what do you call this thing? Many people maybe don't know what the word for this is. Very good. It's a roller coaster. But we spell it like this. It's a roller coaster. Do you know the general word for one of these things? Or the place where you find these things? These are words that, you might not know how to explain. You might say, it's a place where you find roller coasters. So a roller coaster is a type of ride. We call these rides, not attractions. Okay, attraction could be something else, all right? And we find these things in American English, at least, we call it an amusement park. An amusement park. Amusing from the word, it's fun, things that make you laugh, okay? Yeah, they're running, or they're going at a very high speed, I would say, or they're very high up in the air, okay? Yeah. What is strange about this? Is there anything strange about this? I don't know if you guys can see it. Well, first, it's not full of people, yeah? And second, if you look closely, a lot of the seats, yeah, a few people and with masks, okay? And if you see some of the seats have a little sign, and that's to keep the distance. It's a social distancing on the ride, okay, on the roller coaster. Yeah, you can only sit where it doesn't have the blue thing. This is actually in my state. This is in Missouri. This is in an amusement park, okay, or a theme park, we can also call it, in Kansas City, called Worlds of Fun. All right. Last thing I want to do is look at some communication idioms, and I have another little task for you to do, is to see if you can guess these idioms based on the emojis. To see, and this is very difficult, I'm going to help you, but it's a challenge for you, okay? So, we have here, not on. What is the opposite of on? Off. So we say off, and we have here, this says top, off the top, and then we have this here, which I want to say my head, okay? What does that mean in English to say off the top of my head? Off the top of my head. Have you heard this before? It's when you don't have the information with you at the moment. So you say, well, off the top of my head, I don't know what answer to give you. But I can tell you this, this, and that, okay? And I know in Spanish, this is a bote pronto, okay? What about this one? This next one, does anybody know this? It's on the of my tongue. On the of my tongue. You guys heard this before? I'm sure you've heard this one before. We say it's on the tip of my tongue. When you're thinking, how do I know the word, but I can't think of it in the moment. Say, it's on the tip of my tongue, okay? The next one, what are these? We're talking, these are all ears, okay? We say, I'm all ears. I'm all ears means I'm listening, okay? We tell someone, I'm all ears. It means I'm listening to you. All of my ears are listening, okay? This next one is difficult, I have to admit. I'll help you with it. It's in the, and here I wanted to show you a loop, okay? If you're in the loop, you have privileged information, special information that other people don't have, okay? Or you might be out of the loop, which is the opposite. You don't have this information, okay? The next one I wanted to show you here was word of mouth, by word of mouth. I know in Spanish you say boca a boca, but in English, boca a boca, mouth to mouth, we do not say. Mouth to mouth is for helping someone resuscitate. If someone is, in a pool and you think they're drowning, you try to breathe into their mouth. This is mouth to mouth. In English, we talk about word of mouth, to spread something. How did you hear about my company? Well, it was by word of mouth, okay? This next one is difficult. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you, okay? It's long story short, okay? If we're telling a story, we say, well, long story short, all right? It's kind of like resumiendo, all right? Summarizing, it's this, this, and that, all right? We say long story short. The next one, does anyone get this one? Talking to we say brick wall, okay? It's like you're talking to somebody and they're not listening. Sometimes when I give webinars, I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall because I don't see you guys, okay? And if nobody writes to me in the chat, then I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. and nobody's listening. And the last one is on the spot, okay? You can put someone on the spot, which means to put them in a difficult situation, to make them have to speak when they don't want to, or to say something when they don't want to. So many times in the webinars, I also put you on the spot. I say, okay, explain this to me. Explain this to me, either in the chat or by voice, okay? Thank you all for participating. All right, thank you all. And next week, again, it's only on Thursdays now, okay? So Tuesdays, we're not doing the webinars. And well, I hope you can join, and I hope more people can join next week, okay? So have a good week, and we'll talk next week, okay? Bye.